We're going to be taking a cool and awesome drive along US 31. Come on, let's go. Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing northbound US Highway 31. US 31 is a very important road to me as I lived near it and I lived in the state of Alabama. And US 31 is also a pretty well signed road in all the states that it passes through. And it is also one of the 9 US highways to split into an east and a west route. And it is also concurrent with a 3-digit interstate in the state of Michigan, so we're going to be covering that road too. And US 31 also goes through the heart of big cities like Louisville, Birmingham, and Indianapolis. So let us get started with 31 northbound. But first, you're watching the TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of US 31 as it runs from the junction with US 90 and 98 in Spanish for Alabama, all the way up to a junction with Interstate 75 just south of Mackinaw City, Michigan. And in the states of Tennessee and Kentucky is where it splits into its east and west routes. So without me talking about northbound US 31, so we begin here with this illustration of the beginning of US 31, meaning with 90 and 98. If you're confused, let me explain about this. So currently US 98 follows this road here and follows it Interstate 10 to the south, while US 90 exits and follows this road to US 31 and then continues south back to 98. That is completely confusing. So I'm just thinking, why not just have both 90 and 98 just follow this road here and have this road become like, I don't know, a county route and extend US 31 to this RANT here. It'll just make way more sense instead of having 90 to exit and then come back down to US 98 and Interstate 10. So with that, here's the official beginning to US Highway 31, leading US 90 and to 98. And here we meet with Alabama Highway 59 on the outskirts of Spanish Fort, and we're now getting signed for Bay Minette. And here is where Alabama 59 splits off from us in Bay Minette, and we're now getting no control city here for some reason. Also, it's strange how there's an Alabama 59 and an Interstate 59. I'm like, not against having state highways numbered as the same as US highways or interstates. I mean, that's fine, but as long as they don't meet each other to make it really confusing, it's fine to have them. But luckily, as we head through downtown Bay Minette, we get Atmore as our next control city, which is a good choice. And here we get Brewton as we're heading through Atmore. And on our first mileage chime, we get Flomaton as our top line from 14 miles away, while Brewton is still our primary from 28 miles away. Here in Flomaton, we meet with US Highway 29, and 29 and 31 are going to be concurrent as we're going to be heading towards Brewton. And I also like that southbound control city for US 29. Well done, PalDot. In our next mileage time, we now get Evergreen as our primary from 41 miles away. And this is here in Brewton, and we split off from US Highway 29 as it's getting signed for Andalusia, while we're still getting signed north for Evergreen. And on our next mileage time, we get Greenville, Alabama from a good 70 miles away. Today I learned that there is a Greenville, Alabama, and I used to live in that state. Strange or not. Here we meet with US Highway 84 in the middle of nowhere, and 31 and 84 now are going to be concurrent with each other here. And our next mileage time, we get Evergreen on the top line and Andalusia as our primary from 33 miles away. Anda Louisa is actually for US 84. We don't go there. Meanwhile, we do go to Mackenzie from 24 miles away. And here's where we split off from US 84 as it's being signed for Anda Louisa, and we head towards Mackenzie and Greenville, Alabama. But our next mileage sign, we get reflected of Mackenzie and Greenville. And then this is a little ways up the road, and we now get a first mention of Montgomery from a good 69 miles away. That is awesome by Aldot here. And here in Greenville, we're meeting Alabama Highway 10, and we're now getting signed solely for Montgomery, so well done. And on the outskirts of Montgomery, we meet our first interchange with Interstate 65, and this will not be the last time we'll be meeting Interstate 65. And here we meet the Great US Highway 80, which I actually did a series on a couple months ago, which you can check out in the top right corner here or down in the description below. And US 80 will take you over to Interstate 65, and we can see in the background that we're now getting signed for Birmingham, which is a huge swing by Aldot there. That is awesome. And then on the north side of Birmingham, we meet with US Highway 82 and Alabama Highway 14, and they'll take you over to Interstate 65 too. And at a random junction here, we're now getting signed off for Pine Level, which is a good choice because it has roughly 4,800 people. And in Pine Level, we get our next mileage sign, and we get Clanton from 13 miles away and Verbena from 3. And then a ways up the road after going through Verbena, we get Birmingham, as I mentioned, from 67 miles away. Again, this is awesome signage. And here we meet with Alabama 22 and 145 here in downtown Clanton. And our next mileage sign, we can now get Birmingham still from 46 miles away. And on the outskirts of Birmingham, we meet with Interstate 459, which is another road that I did a video on. And we can see that it's being signed for good control cities, except for that Gadsden. Please take off that Gadsden. Atlanta is just fine by itself. And on 459 itself, we're now getting signed for a couple of Birmingham suburbs, which is perfectly fine because we're still always well south of the city. Plus, you're going to be taking Interstate 65 anyways to get into the city. And on our way into downtown Birmingham, we meet with US Highway 280, and 280 is going to be concurrent with us as it heads towards its western terminus. And here we meet with both US 78 and US Highway 11 here, and US 280 is still concurrent with us. But when we meet Interstate 20 and 59 here, we can see that we get an end US Highway 280 shield, and we just get the Kentucky treatment. Also, there are control cities for 20 and 59, it's just on that distributor RANT. And Aldot also gives us an end US Highway 280 shield, so that is pretty cool. Also, I might want to do a video on US 280 someday. It is a pretty interesting road. And here we can see that we get an awesome view of the Birmingham skyline as we're in an elevated freeway within the city. After meeting Interstate 20 and 59, this is a ways north of the city, and this is the spot where we're going to be meeting roughly the eastern terminus of Interstate 22 here, so that's pretty cool. And then now we're meeting Interstate 65 for another time, and we're now getting signed north for Fultondale, which is a good choice. And here in Fultondale, we're now getting signed for Gardendale as our next control city. And here in Gardendale, we're now getting signed for Morris as our northbound control city. But our next mileage sign, we now get a mention of Decatur from 69 miles away, which I think is an awesome choice. There's definitely no bias there. Now we're going to be joining with Interstate 65 as we're going to be heading north towards Huntsville, which is also a good choice. Here we split off from Interstate 65, and oh boy, we get a terrible sign here. Garden City only has 520 people. Blount Spring is an unincorporated community. Please remove that Blount Springs, Aldot, and put on Coleman there. We do not need an unincorporated community signed on a major US highway. Come on, you were doing so well. You were signing both Birmingham and Montgomery from a good distance. Now you're just doing this kind of stuff? Come on. And we can see that we're still getting signed for Blount Springs when we meet the ramp to Interstate 65 northbound. Also, why is 65 getting signed for both Coleman and Decatur? We should be getting those control cities, not Blount Springs. Anyways, luckily in the next mileage sign we do get Coleman from 20 miles away. And here we are meeting with US Highway 278 in downtown Coleman. And if we look on US 278 going eastbound, we can see that we have some really weird looking shields. I mean, the shields are fine, but the font, what in the world is that font? I've never seen it before. And why is Alabama using it of all states? Like, that's just weird. And luckily north of here, we're now getting signed for Decatur, which is, again, a good choice. Because US 31 goes to Decatur instead of Huntsville. And this here is in Hartselle, Alabama, and we're meeting with Alabama Highway 36, and we're still getting signed north for Decatur, while Alabama 36 will take you into downtown Hartselle, and also over to Danville, Alabama. And this is on the outskirts of Decatur, where we're meeting with Alabama Highway 67 here, and we're now getting signed north for Athens, which is also a good choice. And now we're going to be joining with US 72 alternate and Alabama Highway 20 as we're getting signed for both Athens and Huntsville, as US 72 alternate will take you to Huntsville and turn into Interstate 565. And here we get an awesome view as we're crossing over the Tennessee River and onto the other side of the bank. And here's where we split off from US 72 alternate as it will take you over to Interstate 565. And since both US 72 alternate and Alabama 20 are part of the Appalachian Highway Development Corridor, they get blue shields, while we just get a regular black one. And on our way to Athens, we actually meet the Huntsville-Browns Ferry Road, which will actually take you over to the Athens Buc-ee's, which did not exist when I lived there a good 10 to 15 years ago, so it is recently new. And this is one of the reasons I want to come back, is to visit that Buc-ee's. And here in the heart of Athens, we meet with US 72 proper, and US 72 will take you over to downtown Huntsville, where we're going to be continuing into the heart of the Athens. 351, which is also old US Highway 31, and will take you up to Ardmore, while turning left here will actually take you into downtown Athens. And this junction actually brings back a lot of memories because I remember seeing this junction a lot when I was a kid. Also, Alabama 251 actually goes over a greenway that will take you to the Athens High School and a sports complex park. So yeah, that was pretty fun times whenever I watched that greenway. And here in the next mileage chart, we now get Nashville. We're getting signed for Nashville from 99 miles away. Alabama, that is really awesome. Man, well done here. I don't remember seeing this when I was a kid. And here we meet with Alabama Highway 99, and this is the sports complex park that I was talking about earlier. I visited this place a lot because there was actually a park that I remember playing at a lot when I was a kid. And now we're going to be joining with Interstate 65 here, as we're now getting signed north for Nashville, which is a good choice. And then always up the road, we're now going to be entering into the state of Tennessee. So let us see what Tennessee has to offer on 31. And our first exit in the state of Tennessee, we split off from Interstate 65, as we're now getting signed for Pulaski and Lawrenceburg. So no mention of Ardmore, interestingly. And here in Pulaski, we meet with US 64, that this is 64 alternate or 64 proper, I don't know. Because in downtown Pulaski, we meet with another US 64, so which one's the business route / regular route, or which one's the alternate route? Come on, why are you confusing me, T-Dot? And here we meet with US Highway 31 alternate, which will take you over to Interstate 65 and US 41 alternate. And hey, look at that! T-Dot has given us another mileage sign, with Columbia on the top line from 29 miles away, and they're signing Nashville from 74. So they're giving some 70 eastbound love to US Highway 31 here, which is great. Here in Columbia, we need a couple of oddball highways, US 43 and US Highway 412. I mean, I kinda get US 43 existing, but US 412 should definitely not exist. That should definitely be like, I don't know, like US 56 or something. Because that 412 number does not make sense at all. It is nowhere near US 12. And here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, we meet with Tennessee Highway 396, or known as the Saturn Parkway. And this junction here was requested by Outwork Station because he used this parkway to get over to Interstate 65 when he went to Nashville in 2016. So thank you for that request. Also, since the Saturn Parkway is already a full elevated freeway, why not just turn it into like Interstate 165 or something? It makes useful sense because it connects 65 to a car plant here in Spring Hill. And now we're meeting with Interstate 840 here, and guess what Interstate 840 is? Hey, I know this highway. Interstate 840 is a 77-mile spur of Interstate 40, and it is a large bypass around the city of Nashville, running from just outside of Dixon, Tennessee, all the way to Lebanon, Tennessee. Also, my good friend Extreme Geography did his own video on Interstate 840, so check that out. And I also got my own picture of the eastern terminus of Interstate 840. And some of the highways that 840 meets is both its parent, US 31, Interstate 65, and many others. It is a recently new signed highway, as it was signed in 2016, and before 2016 it was known as Tennessee Highway 840, and is also one of 2 Interstate 840s in the country. So, that is a little bit about Interstate 840, and let us get back to US Highway 31. So, let us see what we're signed for on Interstate 840 here. We're now getting signed for Franklin, which is a good choice, because Franklin, Tennessee is a relatively sized city. Here in Franklin, we meet with one of our children routes here, US Highway 431, and we're now going to be concurrent with it as we head around the city of Franklin, Tennessee. And here we meet with Tennessee Highway 96, which will actually take you over to Murfreesboro and Interstate 24 and US 231, so that is pretty cool. And this is where we split off from US Highway 431, as US 31 is now going to be continuing north towards Nashville. And on the outskirts of Nashville, we meet with Tennessee Highway 155, or the unofficial loop around the city of Nashville. And as we get closer to the city, we can see that we're now starting to see the skyline here, so that is pretty awesome. And here we go under both Interstate 40 and 65 here, as this is at the big 40 and 65 split, or reunion. And now we're going to be joining with US Highway 41 and 70S. No, that is not 70 to the 5th power. And plus, I did show this back when I did US Highway 41 a couple of years ago. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Now we're meeting with US Highway 70 proper, or which is known as Broadway here in the heart of Nashville. And this is where US 70 joins with 70 proper. And ways up the road, we can see now we're getting a whole bunch of signage here. You can see we get 31, 431, 41, and 41 alternate. I have no idea why 4 highways are all concurrent with each other. I mean, I get 431 and 41, but why is 41 alternate concurrent with 41? And we can see here are those signage as we're going underneath a parkway here. And we can actually pass right by the Tennessee State Capitol, so that is a pretty cool shot of the State Capitol building. And we also get a pretty cool shot of Nissan Stadium, home of the Tennessee Titans. And I do have my own picture, which I did show in the Interstate 24 video, which you can check out in the top right corner here. And always up the road, this is where we split off into our east and west route, and in this video we are going to be following the east route here, signed north for Ellington Parkway. Do not like that, That should be one of the Nashville suburbs instead of just Clinton Parkway. And then here is where we're going to be joining with Tennessee Highway 155, which is being signed for Opryland, which I think is an alright choice. It's a very famous place and suburb here in Nashville. And then our concurrency with Tennessee Highway 155 is shortly lived, as we're now being signed for Gallatin Road and Madison. I do not like that Madison on there. Madison is a neighborhood of Nashville. That should just be Gallatin here. No need for that Madison. Here we meet with Tennessee Highway 386, which is the road that will take you over to Gallatin. And let's see what we're signed for on 386. It looks like we're now being signed for Hendersonville, which I think is an alright choice. And plus is actually bigger than Gallatin, so well done there, T-Dot. And this is here in Gallatin, and we're meeting with Tennessee Highway 109, which is being signed for Lebanon and Portland, Tennessee. Today I learned that there is a Portland, Tennessee. And on the outskirts of Gallatin, we can see that we're now being signed for Westmoreland, along with US Highway 31E northbound. And on the outskirts of Westmoreland, we meet with another one of our children, US Highway 231, which I actually did a video a couple weeks ago on US 231, and you can check that out in the description below or in the top right corner here. And we can see that it's been signed for Hartsville and Lebanon, Tennessee. And we saw this in the US 231 video, where you can see we got a one-liner for Scottsville, Kentucky from 19 miles away. And we're now entering into the state of Kentucky after passing through Westmoreland, Tennessee. And here in Scottsville, we split off from US Highway 231. The US 231 is being signed for Bowling Green. Well, we don't know what we get. And this here is still in Scottsville, and for some random reason, we're getting signed a Dollar General. Why in the world are we getting signed for some random Dollar General on US Highway 31E? Why can't that be an actual control city, Kentucky? Man, I have never heard of a state signing a Dollar General on a US highway. This is just completely comedic here. Anyway, skipping ahead to the Glasgow area, we're meeting with US 68 truck and Kentucky Highway 90 here, as we're going to be heading into downtown Glasgow. And then after going around the city of Glasgow, we meet with US 68 proper, which for some reason you can go both directions on 68, but there's a one-way sign for one direction of 68. So again, Kentucky, can you go both directions, or are you only able to go one direction? It's so confusing. And we can see that at Ram Junction here, we're now being signed for Hodgenville from 35 miles away. And our next mileage time, we actually get Bardstown from 55 miles away. And Kentucky giving us a mileage sign. This is awesome. Here in Hodgenville, we can see that we're now being signed north for Bardstown, which is a great choice. And here on the outskirts of Bardstown, we meet with the Bluegrass Parkway here, which is being signed for Lexington going eastbound and Elizabethtown going westbound. Meanwhile, we're going to be heading into downtown Bardstown. And here in downtown Bardstown, we meet with US Highway 62, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head through downtown. And here is once again another one of my own drawings. This time, this is what I showed in the 62 northeastbound video, which you can check out in the description below. And you can see that US 150 is now going to be joining with us as we head north towards Louisville. And here we meet with Interstate 265, and it's famously signed for the Gene Snyder Freeway. If you're wanting to know, this is the entire reason why we invented the term Kentucky treatment. It's because of both Interstate 264 and 265 here. They're literally just being signed the name of the freeway instead of like actual control cities. Hey Kentucky, why don't you learn from this video and sign actual control cities on 265, please? And here we meet with Interstate 264, and it just gets the same treatment, just the name of the freeway. Again, why can't we see actual control cities? And here, after being concurrent with US 150 for a long time. This is where it splits off from US Highway 31E. Anyways, up the road, now we're going to be joining with US Highway 60, and this is also the start of US Highway 42, but Kentucky is not recognizing it, so sadly, US 42, you don't exist according to Kentucky. And here we get a cool view as we're heading into downtown Louisville. And here's another shot of downtown Louisville. And this is where we reunite with 31W as we head north from downtown Louisville and up into the Indiana suburbs of Louisville. And here we are crossing over the Ohio River here, and you can see that we also get a view of the bridge that Interstate 65 is going over, so that is pretty cool. And sadly we don't get a welcome to Indiana sign, but we do get a sign telling us that we're going to be joining with Interstate 65 soon, and we get a control city of New Albany. And here's where we're going to be joining with Interstate 65, while this random street here will take you into downtown New Albany. And here's where we split off from Interstate 65 as we just get 31 north to the Lewis and Clark Parkway. Okay. And on the northern suburbs, we are going right under Interstate 265 here, and sadly this time we do not have an interchange with it. And our first mileage time here in the state of Indiana, we get Scottsburg from 14 miles away, which is an alright choice. And here we meet Indiana 160 / County Road 160 here in Henryville. And I'd like to visit the town of Henryville one day, because I read in an I Survived or True Stories of I Survived book, and this town got hit by a very, very massive tornado. And I understand how that feels, because I almost got hit by a tornado one time. So I'd like to see how this community has recovered from that 2012 tornado. And after passing through Scottsville, we meet with Interstate 65 here, and it does get control cities, as you can see that 65 South is being signed for Louisville, while 65 North is being signed for Indy respectively. In our next mileage time, we now get Seymour from 12 miles away, which is a great choice because Seymour is a pretty big city here in southern Indiana, and is where we meet US Highway 50. And here we get another mileage time now. We get Columbus, Indiana from 27 miles away. And here in Seymour, we meet with US Highway 50, and we're going to be continuing north towards Columbus, Indiana. And here we get another mileage time with Columbus from 19 miles away. And after going through Columbus, we get another mileage time, and we now get Indianapolis from 38 miles away, so that is awesome. And here in the Indianapolis suburbs, we're now going to be joining with Interstate 465 along with Interstate 74 here. And it's strange how we don't get any control cities for 74 at least. I know they don't do it for 465, but there's no mention of Cincinnati here. Come on, Indiana. And also, I'm going to be skipping the 465 concurrency because I already covered it in the Interstate 465 video, which you can check out in the top right corner here or down in the description below. So on the north side of Indianapolis, we split off from Interstate 465 at the well-numbered exit 31 here. That is coincidental. And we can see that we're getting signed north for Westfield and Kokomo. I mean, Westfield is a big suburb here in Indianapolis, but I feel like you should throw on South Bend because South Bend is way more famous, and plus it's like really well north of here, and I bet most people are going to be using US 31 to get to South Bend from Indianapolis. But luckily, our next mileage time, South Bend does become our primary from a good 114 miles away. And here in Kokomo, we're meeting with Indiana Highway 931, which will take you into downtown, while we're now getting signed north for South Bend, which is awesome. Here in the Kokomo area, we'll meet with US Highway 35, which is being signed for Gas City along with Kokomo. And this is where US 35 splits off from US Highway 31, as it's being signed for Galveston and Logansport. Today I learned that there's a Galveston, Indiana. And our next mileage time, we still get South Bend from a good 80 miles away, while Peru's our secondary from 13. Here in Peru, meet with US Highway 24, which will also take you up to Fort Wayne, while 24 westbound will take you over to Logansport and meet US 35 there. And here we are now meeting with US Highway 30 in the middle of nowhere, and it's been signed for Warsaw and Valparaiso respectively. Now we're meeting with US Highway 6, which is being signed for Walkerton and Bremen, Indiana. In our next mileage time, we now get Niles, Michigan from 33 miles away. I mean, yeah, Niles is where we meet US 12, but I prefer to see Holland because Holland is a bigger city than Niles. And plus we meet Interstate 94 in Holland, so... And plus, we did not get a mention of Indiana Highway 4. Why is that on there? Here on the outskirts of South Bend, we meet with US Highway 20, the Great US 20, and I did a series on that a couple of years ago, which you can check out in the description below. And we're now going to be joining with 20 westbound as we head towards Niles and Michigan City respectively. And this is where we split off from US Highway 20 as it'll head towards Michigan City. And we're going to be meeting both 80 and 90 here coming up soon. And here is that meeting with the Indiana Toll Road, also known as Interstate 80 and 90 here. And then a ways up the road, we're now entering into our last state, the state of Michigan. And this is our third time entering into the state of Michigan, so that is pretty cool. Here in Niles, Michigan, we meet with US Highway 12 here, which is being signed for Sturgis and New Buffalo. And let's see what we're signed for on US Highway 12. We can see that we're now getting signed north for Holland, which is a great choice. In fact, we get Holland on our next mileage time from 69 miles away. In Benton Harbor is where we're going to be meeting with Interstate 94. And here in Benton Harbor, we meet with Interstate 94, getting signed west for Chicago and eastbound for Detroit respectively, while Holland is for us, US Highway 31. And this is where we split off from Interstate 94 to join with Interstate 196 here, getting signed for Holland and Grand Rapids. In our first mileage line on Interstate 196 here, we get Grand Rapids from 75 miles away. In Michigan Beach City, we have this little road known as Blue Star Highway paralleling us. I hope this is the last time that we'll be exiting with it. Wait, there's a second exit with it? All the ways up the road? How many times are we going to be exiting with it? Please tell me if this is the last time that will be happening. Wait, we have it a third time too? How many times do we exit with the same county road here? And how long is this Blue Star Highway? It has to be super long that we exit with it like 3 separate times and back to back to back exits. Like, this is just completely strange. And after those back-to-back-to-back exits with Blue Star Highway, we finally split off from Interstate 196, which will head to Grand Rapids, while we're getting signed for Holland and Muskegon now, which are good choices. Now we exit with it for a fourth time? Please, go away, Blue Star Highway. No one wants to see you. You're just a little county road. You're not a major highway. Just please go away from me. You're stalking me. Anyways, on our next mileage time, we now get Muskegon as our primary from 37 miles away. And we can see now we're now become the Lake Michigan Circle Tour Highway, so that is cool. And our next mileage time, we still get the same 2 control cities that we saw after splitting off from Interstate 196. And here in the Muskegon area, we meet the beginning of Interstate 96 proper, which will also take you to Grand Rapids, as we're now getting signed north for Ludington, which is a good choice. In fact, we get Ludington as our primary from 54 miles away. And here in Ludington, we meet with US Highway 10, and US 10 and 31 are going to be concurrent with this as we head towards Clare and Traverse City. Also, US 10 is one of the few US highways to have a ferry on it, so that is pretty cool. And here we split off from US Highway 10 as we're now getting signed for Manistee. What? What happened to our Traverse City? I've never heard of Manistee, Michigan before. But looking at our next Malachine, we do get Traverse City from 86 miles away. Why wasn't it on that direction sign we split off from 10? MDOT. Here in Traverse City, we meet with Michigan Highway 37 or M37. We also meet with M72 and 22 here, but we're going to be comparing with M37 as we head away from downtown. For our next Malachine, we get Charlevoix from 43 miles away. Yeah, I get Charlevoix as one of the bigger towns that we'll be passing through, but I want to see Petoskey on here because Petoskey is way bigger than Charlevoix and Elk Rapids. Plus, in Petoskey, we meet with US 131, or one of our other children that we meet. And luckily, our next Malachine, we do get Petoskey from a good 48 miles away. So well done, MDOT. And on our way to Petoskey, we actually passed by the 45th parallel here, so that is awesome. And here in Petoskey, we meet with US Highway 31, or its northern terminus, which will actually take you back down to Cadillac, Michigan. And we're not getting signed north for Mackinaw City, which is a great choice, because there's like barely anything left in US 31 anyways. And as we're leaving Petoskey, we actually get a pretty cool view of the bay here. Our next Malachine, we do get Mackinaw City from 33 miles away. In fact, this is our last Malachine on US Highway 31. And here we are in the northern tip of the southern peninsula. We meet with Interstate 75 here. And we can see that we're going to be merging into it soon. As we're merging into Interstate 75 here, we get a End US Highway 31 shield. So well done for MDOT putting up a End US Highway 31 shield. So with that, we end US Highway 31 and we move on to all the places I'll go. So these are all the places that I visit if I ever was on the rest of US Highway 31 or any new parts of the highway. If you have any other places that I should visit, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'd love to check it out if I'm ever on US Highway 31 in that specified area. And if you want to visit any of these places, feel free to do so. So that ends US Highway 31. Thank you all so much for watching this long episode on US Highway 31 and US Highway 31E. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about this highway, and I definitely would like to be on this highway north of Indianapolis because it looks like a pretty cool and interesting road in the state of Michigan. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week as we head over to Eastern Kentucky. Bye!